Welcome everybody. My name is Dr. Andrew Ma. I'm here to bring you a whole new podcast series featuring different leaders going through successful transformation and in an Asia perspective. There are so many noises around the world now about AI, and leaders these days really need to focus on the real signal, successful stories. How are the best practice able to drive successful AI transformation with the ROI? And here we are bringing leaders around Asia to talk about their own personal stories, how they overcome resistance, culture, and things like that. We believe this series will add value to your day-to-day leadership. Come and join us. Welcome to this podcast series. Welcome everybody to the 5% podcast. Today we have the honor of Paddy, Head of Data and Transformation of OCBC Group. Thank you, Paddy, to spend your time here.
Pleasure's mine.
Yeah. So, Paddy, we have some commonality. We both are coach. We are helping company to go through transformation. You also spend a lot of time coaching students. I also spend some time coaching university students as well. As a coach, I'm sure you help a lot of people to change, because coaching people for change, reaching their goal. What is the hardest part now these days? Now, I'm sure you're coaching a lot of transformation, AI. What is the hardest thing to coach in the past few years when you go through AI transformation?
When we look at the coaching activities that I'm involved in, there are distinctively different sets of individuals that I'm involved in coaching, right? So the students that I coach in universities, specifically when they're working on certain action learning projects in different organizations that they're assigned to, right? And this is a very academic construct. It's actually quite easy coaching students because they have a zeal and a hunger to learn, right? They don't come with a lot of baggage of past experiences that shape their learning journey.
Yeah.
So they're
because
much
they
open
choose to join this program.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
So they're very open in terms of
Yeah.
picking up new skills and at least learning from experience.
Yeah.
The hard part is basically when you have to work with executives and primarily senior executives
Yes.
in different organizations that I've been with. Given the kind of dynamics and the kind of changing nature of tech with data and AI and Gen AI these days, it's introducing a really different kind of technological shift where you need to reimagine solutions, you have to reimagine legacy processes, right? And the difficult part when having to deal with some individuals, especially in this particular kind of work, is there's always this particular mindset of this is the way that we have been doing things.
The process has been around for 20
Yes.
years. It doesn't break, why change, right?
Yes. So they have a lot of confidence in terms of, the past successes and the kind of results that they have achieved. And the mindset is, why break something if it's already working well?
Particularly those executives who put that process 10 years ago.
Yes.
They feel pride that they were the one put it in it.
Correct.
And now you are suggesting to dismantle it.
Not really dismantle it entirely, but to rethink in terms of, is there a better way of handling that particular technology or process?
How do you handle those?
The first is basically in terms of, the leadership coaching involves in terms of, being transparent about the why, right? I think that's important.
Yeah.
What worked in the past does not necessarily mean that it has to continue working in the same way in the future, right? Customers change, preferences change. The expectations that our customers put in us as an organization, that shifts, right? So we have to be adaptable to those particular changing needs of the customer. And then we need to go ahead and look at making sure our processes are also designed in such a way that those particular objectives are met. So the first is basically context setting is extremely important, right? The second is basically in terms of, when you made sure that you have that particular context setting established, is to educate the executives or the employees in general in terms of what's the art of possible, right? So it's important to paint a big picture and explain to them, okay, given the kind of technology shifts that have taken place, what is possible now? How do we reimagine processes in a way that I can harness the full benefit and potential of these particular capabilities that we have, right?
Yeah.
So it starts with that as well, right? And the third is basically to go ahead and start getting to that particular point of view in terms of, okay, can I change entire processes, or do I need to start somewhere small and then
Get some small win first.
get some wins, demonstrate success, show some early results, and then go ahead and do it. So when you have executives who are able to see this particular results and the change, that's when they're much more, forthcoming to,
Yeah.
accepting the shifts.
Right. I'm sure as a consultant, we look at change management as like people, process, platform.
Yes.
But the underneath is power.
Yeah.
The 4 Ps, right? I'm sure when you need to drive certain change, I think we both agree the technology, the platform part is not the part. It's not the hardest part.
It's the people.
It's the people mindset, as you said,
Always.
and also the power with the new process. Who actually get the more power out of the re-engineering process?
Yeah.
How do you deal with the power, which is the hardest, probably, right?
If you have the right framework and the right intents, right, in place, you can always deal with the power, right? I think everybody understands the benefits of what we are trying to go out and achieve, right? Nobody is a cynic in that particular sense. There is initial resistance, and the resistance generally stems from the fact that they're not fully aware or fully grasp have a fully good grasp of the technology or how exactly the technology benefits them. But once you're able to get past that particular initial stages and the awareness is built, the kind of trust in the process is established, that power struggle does not really matter much, right? Okay. They are usually, they turn around.
Okay, good. I read your bio in the LinkedIn. You emphasize you have a reputation of simplicity in the transformation journey. And when now everybody talk about AI transformation, it's so complex to non-technical people, right? So how do you simplify things for particularly non-technical business leaders to explain the power of AI? They don't over expecting AI can do, but they don't oversimplify things. How do you actually put simplicity for particular AI transformation for non-technical leaders?
Okay, so my bio actually says that I'm able to go ahead and look at having the ability to simplify complex.
Yes.
Okay, so when we talk about simplifying complex projects, I think what's important to understand there is in terms of not to go ahead and design a particular process without any particular complexities at all, right? When you talk about any project, there are technical complexities involved in it. There are people mindset related complexities that you have to win. You have process related complexities associated with it. Simplifying does not necessarily mean that you're eliminating all of the complexities.
You're not dumbing it down.
No,
right?
You're not dumbing it down. You're just basically good at making sure the complexities are surfaced to the right people who can deal with it. So if you're going to go ahead and simplify, let's say, an onboarding journey for a particular customer, it doesn't mean that, okay, you eliminate all of the particular checks and balances that are needed to be implemented as part of that. It's just that you make it as frictionless as possible for the customer, that the customer goes back thinking that, hey, this was the easiest onboarding I've ever faced, right? But you could probably have the most complex architecture behind the scene doing...
But you hide those.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So there are 101 things that can probably be running under the hood. There are different models that could be running behind the scenes, different flavors of technology that could come together to go ahead and help in terms of accomplishing that particular task. But then it's completely invisible to the user. Right. So that's basically what we go ahead and mean by simplifying complex activities, right?
So the user journey or the user experience, you want to make it as easy as possible.
Yes.
But under the hood, you can have all the LLM, agentic, MCP, all the things to enable that that
I
experience.
would
right?
go to that particular extent of even saying that, okay, we are technology agnostic, right? I look at it more from a technology agnostic manner. So I don't necessarily believe that it has to be an LLM or an agent or an MCP. It could just basically be an RPA or any other
Machine learning,
simple models that you want to go ahead and use, right?
Yeah.
It for all that matters, it could even just be a non-AI solution that is working behind the scenes.
AI is sexy. You have to put everything AI, right?
Yeah, but then you don't have to AI wash solutions.
Yes.
Right? You don't have to AI wash solutions for the sake of doing AI.
It's pain point first.
Yes.
Not AI first.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we violently agree on
Absolutely.
that. And we have seen so many AI hype projects.
Yes.
That is mainly for marketing, magazine coverage, doesn't really deliver any value and solve any pain point. Yeah. I'm sure you hate those type of... Do you think that is necessary evil? Sometimes we need those, or those are distraction?
I wouldn't say they're distractions. Look, when everybody goes and tries to approach a particular problem with the right intention that they're going to go out and get the best out of AI for that particular problem. If only people spend more time in terms of understanding the problem better, I think that's probably a better use of time instead of rushing to do AI.
Yeah, I've been teaching a lot of design thinking in the past 15 years. The first diamond is much harder than the second diamond.
Yes.
Framing the problem, empathizing with the pain point, but people jump to the solution too quickly. I'm sure you've seen so much of those.
I'm sure. So I used to be a design thinking coach in my previous life, right? A working experience. And there is one thing that I would always go out and encourage during my coaching sessions, during the design thinking workshops, is that don't fall in love with the solution, right? Fall in love with the problem, right? I think that's what we lack today, right? Nobody looks or nobody cares too deeply about a problem these days, but everybody wants to look at, this is the sexiest solution that we have, and I want to go ahead and look at using it.
I partly blame the education system, particularly in Hong Kong. I'm not sure about Singapore or India. We overemphasize, okay, you have an exam, you have 2 hours. When you see the problem, you just rush to give as many points you want to score in the answer. So our mind is trained for that. Yeah. And we don't spend, our education system so far do not spend enough time on framing the problem and empathizing with human needs yet. And if we don't change education system, we continue to have superficial solution.
I agree to an extent.
Okay, what's your perspective?
I think one of the things that our education system needs to go ahead and look at is, rather than emphasizing on rote learning, I think a lot more emphasis has to be given to critical thinking, right? Mm-hmm. Our education system does not reward critical thinking today, right? I think if we are able to go ahead and start looking at revisiting the education system, I think we need to probably see in terms of, okay, how do we reward critical thinking and problem solving? And assess the capability of students on that dimension, rather than just on the basis of rote learning and grades.
I can't agree with you more. It's critical thinking. How to teach critical thinking? Like you mentioned about project-based learning or action-based learning. Is that the holy grail, or do you have something more to teach critical thinking?
So I think one of the other concepts that I would probably go on and reflect on, right, when it's critical thinking that is needed, you could always go and say, hey, I can do this individually. But then the biggest learning that I have seen, especially when it comes to critical thinking, is when you're involved in something like a team-based decision making, right? So you're not necessarily ideating alone, but there is a group consensus that is being brought in. You're taking in different opinion from different individuals. You're discussing differing points of views, right? And then you assess, evaluate, and then come into the common understanding of, okay, look, this is how we need to go about doing it. So I think there are different aspects of it. You cannot necessarily go out and say, this is how I'm going to go out and learn critical thinking. The other way in which I would probably imagine is situation-based learning, right? You can't always be expected to know everything. You can't solve all the problems. There are certain times you would have to be put into an uncomfortable situation to get the most out of that, right? So I think those are two things that I would probably imagine. Like,
Yeah. I think solution that work in situation A does not mean it can work in situation B, and why it doesn't work in that, and what's your rationale on it. So we need more that type of training, both in school and in executive education and adult learning as well. I'm sure you read the MIT report that state you are MIT alumni did on AI transformation. It says 95% of most of the AI transformation project didn't live up to the ROI. I was just chatting with different leaders, and some will say they are overestimated, some are underestimating it. If MIT do another research in 2026, because that was like 8 months ago, right? Is it still 5%? Is it 10%? But even 5, 10, 20, how do we facilitate higher percentage of transformation success?
So let me give some context, right? I read that research report. We kind of had a lot of discussions on that particular research report in our office. A lot of colleagues getting together, and having discussions. So the report is basically from MIT, and it's basically called Nanda.
Yeah,
right?
Nanda. Yeah.
And they interviewed about 150 executives. 300 different projects or across different industries was what they went ahead and evaluated. And what we discussed was only about 5% of those returned some business benefits or business value,
and
right?
Mostly startups too, right? Yeah.
Now, having said that, it doesn't necessarily mean the 95% of the use cases that were being discussed, the models were dumb. That's not the case, right? The models were good. The solutions were technically sound. I'm sure there was a lot of thinking that went behind the scenes in terms of building those particular applications, but it did not result in any particular business value, right? So do we go ahead and discount the fact that nothing was gained from those 95%? That's not entirely true, right? When the light bulb was being discovered, right, they found 1,000 different ways of why a light bulb wouldn't work, right? Till the time the light bulb actually worked, right? So I would imagine I would look at it more from the positive aspect that, okay, yes, the 95% did not result in a return on investment if you really look at it more from a revenue point of view. But it did generate a lot of learnings in terms of, okay,
Data
how
points,
not to go out and do those kind of projects, right? Or how do you design better projects in the future, right?
So you see those not as a failure, but data point to make the project better next time.
Right? And it's not only from, a Gen AI or an agentic AI. I'm sure the same logic can be applied for a wide array of other projects as well, right? So I would probably want to go out and look at the silver lining there, right? But having said that, if you really need to go ahead and have better odds of success, right? I think what's more important is, again, going back to my earlier point, that we have to be very deliberate about the kind of projects that we choose, right? You need to be able to go ahead and have a mechanism to choose the right kind of projects and the right kind of solutions that's really going to go ahead and make the change, right? You don't necessarily want to go ahead and take a particular project and then sprinkle AI fairy dust on it, right? You would want to go ahead and be very selective about choosing AI where it really matters, and if you're having the conviction that it can actually transform and introduce a new way of working from how things have always been done.
Yeah.
I think that's basically what is extremely important these days,
Yes.
right? So that's one.
Yeah.
You need to be able to go ahead and estimate the size of the prize.
Sure.
You don't necessarily want to just go ahead and look at a particular technology and then try to force fit that particular technology onto a particular workflow.
Not for transformation sake of transformation.
Exactly.
You really want to solve the real problem first,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
So I keep talking about this particular saying. I heard it somewhere, and I'd like to reuse that, right? So when the only arsenal, right, that you have is a Gen AI hammer, every problem starts to look like a Gen AI nail, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you want to be very deliberate about not sprinkling AI fairy dust. You have to be choosy about the kind of projects, right?
Right.
Something that can actually go and give you. When you look at a particular problem, you need to be able to envision that particular problem in different ways, right? So can I solve that problem using digitization or digitalization?
Yeah.
Can I go ahead and solve that problem using a machine learning technique? Do I need to go ahead and use Gen AI? Do I need to go ahead and introduce agents? I mean, those are the kind of questions,
Or just
right?
apply simple lean process just to
Yes.
make it more lean
Correct,
without
right?
any
So do you want
technology.
to eliminate the process? Do you want to...
To get the Muda out, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
And then you'll also not only just look at it, but then the kind of return on investment that should also advise you in terms of the kind of investments that you need to go ahead and make, or the choice of the solution should also matter based on the amount of money that you have.
Yes.
Right? So if you're trying to go ahead and solve something which is going to go ahead and generate $100,000 in benefit, you're not going to go ahead and get a whole lot of compute and put Gen AI complex solutions there.
Yeah.
And not really be able to justify that particular spend.
Oh.
Right?
We were just sharing with another speaker, Sumir. He was saying that we're just too early. Like Gen AI was what, 3 years?
Yeah.
And you are looking to immediately 3 years immediately generate so much money. It's not fair anyway. Yeah. And you and I all know, right? ROI doesn't have a time horizon. Yeah. It's all a matter of if you're just measuring such a short time, it's very hard to justify things. It's time to mature, and also it's the learning gap. Yeah. It's not about using AI for just summarizing a PDF. Yeah. It's about redesigning a workflow, even new product, new workflow can be done. That takes time. Yeah. For the workflow to have the power redistribution and things like that, that takes time. Yeah. So you believe if MIT do another research this year, it will be 10%, 20%?
I'm pretty sure the way things are, there's a sense of pragmatism that is being seen around the choice of use cases. Yeah. A lot of senior stakeholders within the organization and key decision makers are able to see value, but at the same time, they're approaching these with healthy skepticism as well, right?
Healthy, yeah. Not unhealthy. That's the key
exactly
word.
Right. So they're not cynics. They're approaching these with a healthy level of skepticism, and I say this because they're asking the tough questions. They're asking questions on the promise of the value that the solution is going to go on and bring.
And governance and Correct. All those tough questions that you need to solve, right? Yeah.
And they're not really necessarily shutting doors on you. They're keeping the doors open for dialogue. Yeah. Right? So they want to understand in terms of how the solution adds value and other things. So if you ask me, has the situation improved? I probably may not necessarily be able to answer across the industry, but
we haven't seen the data yet, right?
Yes, but if you ask me, yes, I'm sure that there has been an improvement. People are starting to see their Gen AI builds flowing in. So they are companies who have made significant investments, and there is a growing sense of uneasiness, and the questions would arise in terms of when the value is going to be derived.
Yeah,
and if they don't see the value,
really values that you have seen, right?
Correct. Yeah. So now the questions will move towards fine, we are seeing value. It will flow in. And the choice of projects, etc.
How to make it scale, how to
Absolutely,
have more departments, more innovative open mind to try these things. Those are the next challenge for you to drive. You are the head of data and transformation. Let's talk about data.
Yeah.
I'm sure everybody is now saying that, oh, we need to be data-driven, dashboard, and
Yeah.
not just using your hunch, right? But you and me are human, right? Sometimes hunch, and actually the hunch sometimes help me, at least in my career and
Yeah.
things like that. A small voice that tells you, this is probably not the right thing to do, or all the data say otherwise. How do you advise leaders? Yes, we have to be data-driven, but you also need to also believe in yourself.
Yeah.
Your experience sometimes can help you to see things that beyond data.
Yeah.
How do you advise? Is it totally data-driven, or how do you balance the two? Yeah.
So it's interesting, right? I mean, we all want to be data driven, but at the same time, we have the hunch, or call it intuition.
Intuition.
Right.
Yeah.
And a lot of those hunch, intuition arises from the fact that our past experiences are influencing those.
But do you see those are biases, or do you think they are valuable insight?
It could be valuable insights depending on where it is coming from, right? So I would say there is some particular merit and some particular value, right? So past experiences are something that we learn from.
Yes.
So if someone with a significant amount of experience is able to go ahead and add, bring that particular insight, and we have to go ahead and test and validate that, then it's worth spending that particular time and effort on, right? The data helps in terms of validating that particular hypothesis. So invariably, you might start with a hunch or an intuition, but you will use data to test and validate that hypothesis, right? So in a way, it is still being data driven.
So you believe in, or not believe, you have a hunch, but go and use data to validate whether that hunch is just your bias, or whether that really gives you the way you have to go.
Yeah. If you don't validate and test the hypothesis, and you straight away go ahead and implement something, then probably not, right? So you still have to validate the hypothesis before you decide to implement a change.
Yeah. I'm sure there's a classic saying, right? If you just believe in market research, Ford will continue. the classic, the Ford will just continue to build the horse, make a faster horse, because the customer will only say the faster horse. They cannot reimagine the new iPhone when back in 20 years ago. How do you see market research data? But sometimes you need to choose not to believe in that. Like, how do you kind of course you need to have the data to back, but sometimes the data, collecting data takes time, takes effort. Sometimes you need to make a decision like Steve Jobs to say, okay, screw that, I going with the multi-touch and things like that, and they win. How do you?
I mean, sometimes you got to go ahead and start with some micro experiments.
Small experiment.
Yeah. So you start with those small experiments, and then you look at what the results are, and then you continue to iterate and continue to build on it, right?
So the agile approach,
Correct.
sprint something out first, MVP, test the market first, right?
Yeah. So you have to start somewhere, right? So you could probably get to that. I mean, there are a lot of first to market initiatives that we've kind of implemented. They all started with an idea, but along the way, we just did not say, okay, let's pour in millions of dollars into those ideas. But we had to go ahead and start somewhere. We built small experiments, started seeing early results, early adoption from those. And then we decided to go ahead and, scale those particular capabilities. So I think that's something that is extremely valuable.
So don't lose your hunch or intuition, but do trying to have some early experiment, collect the data to validate it.
Absolutely.
Okay. So Paddy, when you help your organization to drive transformation, there's a saying now, particularly AI transformation, said, oh, the senior executive gets it, the front young people get it, it's the middle layer haven't really got it. Do you see that's usually the hardest to change? And what are some of the good advice for audience who are trying to motivate the middle management to go use more agile way of doing things, try an AI experiment? How do you, what's some secret sauce so far you communicate?
So it's
in your
actually
experience? Yeah.
quite interesting, right? And it's a very valid question. The the middle layers are generally very compressed, right? The word I'm using compressed is because they have a lot of pressure from the top, from the senior management, a lot of expectations, right? And they also have a lot of expectations from their employees and subordinates, right?
And their peers as well.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
And then there's also the fear of becoming obsolete, given the kind of trends that we are seeing. So somebody who's in a managerial role would generally have that particular fear. So it's not necessarily very easy to address these particular group of individuals, right?
Next week, I'm helping a Hong Kong bank middle layer
Yeah.
to adopt more AI in
Yeah.
an agile way.
No, I think that's probably going to be the main focus area for a lot of organizations, right?
Yes.
In terms of, okay, how do we go ahead and do it?
Yeah.
So I think if you go ahead and look at since the advent of Gen AI or the agentic AI as capabilities that have been coming up, a lot of emphasis has been given to training people on how to use uh, solutions like Copilot, right, for improving their personal productivity, etc.
That's the first step. Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of trainings have also been given for employees across the organization
Yeah.
on how do they get comfortable using Gen AI solutions, right? Aside from the Copilot, but these are Gen AI solutions or rather solutions where Gen AI has been embedded into it, right?
Yeah.
Or integrated
FYI,
into workflows.
I run those programs for OCBC
Yeah.
Hong Kong for 2
Oh, you
years.
do? Okay.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay. So,
Yeah.
but then when it comes to the kind of skills that we require for middle managers, they're very unique, right? Uh, middle managers are the kind of people who have a lot of skills and experience and knowledge in the processes and the kind of domains that they're working
10,
in.
15, 20 years of
Yes.
experience. Yeah.
The core skill that middle managers would need right now is to start thinking in terms of, or rather, how do you go ahead and design AI native workflows, right? Or AI native processes or AI native solutions, right? I think that's basically the kind of skill that middle managers lack today, right?
Is to redesign the workflow. And,
Exactly, right? So how do you design a particular workflow, making the processes revolve around the core AI capabilities?
Where
Not
to put
necessarily,
human, where
yes,
to put AI, where to put human on the loop, human in the loop, all
correct.
this kind of new.
Yes,
Yeah.
right. So I think that's basically a fundamental skill that middle managers are lacking right now. And I think that's one of the areas that all organizations should spend on, right?
Yeah. Actually, teaching prompt engineering is easy.
Yes, that's the
Teaching
easiest.
workflow re-engineering, that's the hardest
Correct.
part. Yeah.
The second is basically you have to come up with a particular mechanism to reward the experiments that middle managers want to go out and lead on, right? Without being reprimanded or without the fear element to it, right?
You need to award those who are willing to rock the boat.
Yes. I think that's rightly put, right? So you need to start thinking about how do you go ahead and recognize these individuals, right? So
Because they may make a lot of enemy
yes.
in the redesigning process.
I'd rather say that at some point in time, growth comes when you make your current roles redundant yourself.
But not all the, most people don't think it that way.
Yes, right. Okay, it's an unpopular belief, right? But
Yes.
something that I've seen in a lot of cases is basically when, in order for you to grow, you need to find ways in which what work that you're doing today does not have to be done the traditional way. You're transforming the way that you're working. That results in growth,
Yes.
right? That invites growth.
Yeah.
So I would probably look at it from that particular aspect.
That's probably one of the toughest job you have, right? So for, let's put it into a perspective. Let's say somebody called Ken. He has been in the senior manager position in a bank A, not necessarily OCBC, right? A bank A. He has been using Excel, Visual Basic stuff for most of his compliance work and things like that. And he actually wrote all the Visual Basic script himself 7 years ago. Now you are asking him, or the boss with you, the head of the department, say, let's put that into agentic workflow. And imagine Ken would have 10 million excuse not to let go of the VBA that he got the award from 7 years ago. Yeah. And he would offer all kinds of say, oh, it's hallucination. The AI is not ready. I know exactly this dashboard to do it customize it for other department. Now your new reporting system is only giving me 50% of what my VBA can do. Why I would choose to that? I'm sure you hear a lot of this type of thing, right? How would you talk to Ken as a coach?
Thankfully, I don't have that problem.
That's good. But I've seen a lot of this type of conversation in in my training.
Okay, so let's look at it more from a couple of dimensions rather than just Ken coming and saying, hey, I'm rather finding excuses. Right? I think there are probably several reasons a person can think of why not to go ahead and do that, right? And it could probably be a personal bias or any other reason. But I think the core problem that we need to go ahead and solve is not about me having to talk to Ken and try to convince him.
Oh, you let the department head to talk to Ken?
Not really. I mean, not really. I mean, the problem is not Kent, right? The problem is the organization and whether it recognizes and appreciates a culture of innovation, right? Because if you have a culture of innovation and appreciation and recognition for these particular kind of efforts, then you will never even have a necessity to go ahead and have that particular conversation, because Kent will not come to me with a reason not to innovate.
Because
but Kent
he was incentivized to disrupt his own invention, to come up with new one, because he got paid extra bonus or recognition, right?
Possibly, right? So I think what's more important is, are you rewarding the right behaviors within the organization? Do you have a culture of innovation that you're basically establishing, right? You don't necessarily want to be a person who is actually going ahead and trying to convince people. You'd rather put systems in place. You'd rather go ahead and look at building that particular culture within the organization, which encourages people to come and say, hey, listen, I know there's a technology right now. I want to experiment. I want to explore this particular capability, right? I think that's basically what we want to get to.
I think it's spot on. If your culture doesn't reward risk-taking, why I'm risking things, right?
Absolutely.
If every time I fail, I got penalized, my boss will just scold you, why I want to do that. But if I do something re-engineering, although the success rate is not high, my manager will say, good data point. What you learn, how we do better next time. Then Ken will be motivated to try out more. So everybody talks about AI agent. I started teaching AI agent a year and a half ago. I don't see any banks have used it yet, because of the security. I don't know about you, but you may
looking at wrong banks.
I at least in the few clients that I have, maybe they have done some experiment and things like that. But AI agent meaning and basically having some decision-making power for AI, and give them tools for them to use on their own behalf. Do you see AI agents would go mainstream in banks, or do you think it is just a hype?
I don't think so. It is hype, right? I mean, we are in the early stages of implementation of these particular capabilities, and it's not just banking, but across industries, right? Banking is an exception because we're a highly regulated industry, right? So and the risks are real. Banks are typically a trust-based organization, right? They run on trust. So if I had to go and look at agentic AI solutions, it's a very early stage of development, right?
Yeah.
Companies are taking a more cautious approach in terms of the kind of solutions that they want to embark on
Yeah.
and the level of autonomy that they want to go out and give to agents, right?
Yeah.
I think that matters.
It's not 0 to 1. It's how you actually
Go in a
more
progressive manner.
human in the loop, just trying to see the results
Yes.
and monitor the progress, right?
Specifically when it comes to financial institutions or banks in particular, we are a very highly regulated industry,
Yes.
right? So any use case that we go out and implement, we got to go out and make sure that there is a proper trail of the kind of decisions that are being made by the agents,
Yeah.
and there is a proper audit mechanism, and there is trust built into that particular solution, right? As banks, trust is the currency that we operate.
That's
Right.
your brand, that's your reputation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Having said that, we do have a lot of agentic AI use cases that we're implementing within our organization.
Yeah.
But we are very selective in terms of whether we go ahead and provide full autonomy to those particular agents, or do we have a human in loop. So there are some areas where we have certain level of autonomy given, but it's not an absolute. Yeah. So if we determine that the risks of giving full autonomy to a particular agent will cause harm to our customers in any manner, right? It could probably impact, let's say, our lending decisions, as an example. We may not necessarily go ahead and use AI agents in that particular case. We would probably have a human in loop as a reviewer to go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
But if it is basically to go ahead and look at using AI agents to evaluate customer feedback and then come up with recommended next best
Financial
of
advice.
actions. Not financial advice. I mean, financial advice is
It's a bit too risky.
it's still
yeah.
too risky there. We would basically go ahead and look at automatically analyzing troves of customer feedback and then come up with a set of actionable insights out of it. We could probably go ahead and look at using AI agents to go ahead and look at sentiment analysis and then coming up with a high level of thing. We'd also go ahead and look at using agents for things like, when I have to go ahead and do a complex financial analysis. Now, financial analysis, which could probably take several days for a human analyst to go ahead and perform, you could probably have a bunch of AI agents, each one capable of doing a certain type of analysis by looking at certain type of evidences, and then provide a summary of it. But then those are still being prepared as an assistant, providing insights to a relationship manager. But it's a relationship manager who's the face of those insights to the customer.
It's still accountable.
Yes.
It's still the trust that you
Correct.
still want a human
Yes.
person to interface
So it
with
again
the
goes
customer.
back to what I was mentioning earlier, that when we go ahead and start talking about enabling skills for our employees, I think that's one of those things about how do you build AI fluency within the organization such that every employee, right from your frontliners all the way to middle managers to senior management,
Yeah.
they have that confidence as well as competency to work alongside AI.
I did have some chance to teach, do training with the RM, relationship manager. And a lot of times I try to help them to understand. Think about, you don't before have the luxury of an assistant, a research assistant, for you to look at all the data sheet of your fund and all the things. Now you have.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid of AI replacing you. The customers still want a handsome face to talk to them. But if behind the scene, when you scan about 100 mutual fund for your customer, you can now have an assistant agent, not autonomous agent. And many people, a lot of RM in Hong Kong don't feel that. They just see either or either AI take my job or not. Still, they have that either or mindset, and that's still a lot of education. Let them aware that AI can be your assistant, not replacing you.
Yeah, I think the main thing is basically for people to understand that you're going to go ahead and look at using AI as something that's going to go ahead and augment your skills and augment your work, not necessarily to replace your work. Yes, of course, there are some things that AI can do better than humans, right? But when we go out and talk about a highly regulated industry like financial services, uh, a lot of tasks are not necessarily going to be eliminated. They are probably going to be augmented using AI.
Yeah.
Right?
Think about if before your high net worth RM, before you need like an hour and a half to research before you actually meet the customer.
Yeah.
Now you can shrink it down to half an hour with more mutual fund or more investment options for you to present
Yeah.
to the customer with more beautiful PowerPoint or whatever to present. But still not a lot of RM gets it yet.
Yeah.
So we still have a lot of job
I'm sure.
to do. You are a coach. When I talked to Paddy a few times, you really have a heart in education, helping people to grow.
Yeah.
There are lots of social media saying, "Oh, the new grads will have no jobs." I'm particularly interested to get your insight because my daughter is 21 years old. She will be graduating next year.
Yeah.
What type of advice would you give to a young person, new grad, who just maybe you are being invited in OCBC new hire, you want to give a speech, and one person says, "How do I survive in the AI?" What type of advice would you give to young people these days?
So, an interesting question. It's a very important one to address as well.
Very
right?
important.
But when you look at the kind of skills people need, it's constantly been evolving, right? When I was growing up, it was extremely important that we go ahead and have a very deep domain knowledge of the industry that I want to work in, right? So banking was obviously not my domain back then, but then I had to be very good with, let's say, computers, with coding and other stuff, but could be assigned to one particular industry, right? So I think that was extremely important. And then if you knew a little bit of Excel and PowerPoint and other things, those were supposed to be complementary skills, right? And then there were additional other skills which would probably be more interpersonal skills that you would have, which was basically more in terms of relationship building, working in a team, communication, and all of those things, right?
Yeah.
And the paradigm, if you largely go ahead and look at, is the mix is relatively similar. That means today, if somebody is going to go ahead and graduate from a university, they are probably having digital first skills, right? So that means they are already well versed in the use of technology.
to that 1,000-word essay.
Right.
They better.
Yeah.
They're already well trained.
So they have
us, right? Yeah.
very solid digital first skills, right?
Yeah.
So that means they could probably code using copilots. They could
coding,
probably generate PowerPoint slides using an assistant.
LM,
So they're extremely good, right? So if they had to research something off the internet, they would probably go out and do it much faster than me, right? I mean, the Gen Zs who are there now, right? I'm probably a millennial. So are you.
I'm Gen X.
Oops. Okay. So they are in a digital native generation compared to you and me, right?
Yes.
What they lack right now is deep domain expertise or subject area knowledge, right? We learned the subject area knowledge working in those environments. So a lot of us have been in industries where we worked when the amount of technology was very minimal. So you had to learn everything and you were more hands-on. Whereas people who come in now, the learning curve for them is much more shorter, right? But they have to go out and look at learning a lot. This kind of skills that would really be needed for people is, okay, how do they work alongside AI? And the challenge there is, okay, how do they trust what is being generated by AI? How do they challenge those, right?
How do you have, earlier you said critical thinking.
Yes, right.
How you judge whether the AI is bullshitting, hallucinating,
Correct.
or they have fact check and really accurate.
So how do you fact check, right? How do you apply critical thinking to be very critical of those? And how do you apply critical thinking when the stakes are high, right? And how do you determine whether the stakes are high or not? I think that's basically the kind of skills that students these days would really need to go out and pick up really fast, right? So developing that particular domain knowledge.
It's almost like judgment. It's a
Yes.
discernment. When the issues come in, you feel that should I handle it myself?
Yeah.
Should I trust or choose the right AI tool to help me to solve at least partly
Correct.
on that? And when the outcome comes up, how do I criticize it?
Yeah.
And add the human touch to it?
Yeah.
That's what you're referring
Correct.
to, right? Yeah.
So I think that's one aspect of it, right? So having the domain knowledge as well as at the same time making sure, okay, you have all the digital skills that you need.
One argument.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be devil's advocate. Could you ChatGPT domain knowledge?
You could, but it's more like saying nobody learned how to drive or swim by reading a book. So if you could generally go ahead and use ChatGPT for everything, yes, it's giving you information based on the trillions of parameters
Best
that has been
practice
trained
for
on.
conflict resolution, but until you actually have a conflict with your
Yes.
peers,
Yeah.
you won't actually know emotional control, how to deal with those, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Right. So you could basically say, yes, I would acquire domain knowledge, right? So before the introduction of ChatGPT, which could actually synthesize the information and then give us the information, I would probably look at Wikipedia to go out and start getting more information about, okay, some trends, right? But did it make me knowledgeable? I mean, yes, it made me knowledgeable to the extent of reading and then trying to interpret that. But the amount of knowledge that I could have actually gotten by applying that in day to day
Yeah.
was not the same. So as students, I think I would probably go and expect them to go ahead and work on more projects that can actually enhance their domain knowledge, understand how that particular technology is going to go ahead and work within those particular domains and a wide variety of use cases.
Yeah.
And also be critical about those particular capabilities, right?
Yes.
So when a particular model output says, hey, don't give a loan to this particular customer, can you be critical about that particular output from the model?
Don't
Can you
trust the
challenge?
propensity model. You need to also add
Correct.
your own.
Can you challenge
judgment.
assumptions, right?
Yeah.
So those are things that are basically core skills that I would imagine. So it's not a easy thing to solve in the times that we are in, but it's definitely needed. If somebody had to go out and look at it, especially for your daughter, I would say pick an industry, go deep in terms of that particular industry, understand a lot about how that industry works, the kind of activities that happen there, and then see how technology has been transforming that industry as such. Build experience.
Yes.
Start somewhere.
Thank God that my advice is 100% aligning with your advice. That's why she actually studying a music school.
Yeah.
But she studied a brand new program called Music Innovation and Leadership. So she studied AI, blockchain, and design thinking, how that disrupt the music industry. And she also, I give similar advice to her. So she was very proactively to have project-based learning, and she just got an internship in Apple Music. And she really knocked on the door to, hey, I'm a new intern. Can I talk to you for coffee? Understand the domain knowledge in the music industry. So, so it's good that my advice is echoing with your advice as well. You emphasize on domain knowledge. My book is called Wisdom at Work. Later on, I'll give it as a gift to you. My argument is we need domain wisdom. And knowledge is about getting all those best practice and things. You can Google, you can ChatGPT it. But wisdom is only when you have conflict with people, how do you actually subjectively into an experience, how you reflect on those. And yes, the best practice looks good on textbook, but do I really have the brain muscle to have my emotion control? You only can build those when you actually work with people. My argument is knowledge is now abundance, but wisdom become more scared. And only when you work with people, going through your challenge, you overcome it, or you not overcome it, but you learn from those mistakes, you accumulate wisdom. So that's kind of my argument on that.
Rightly put.
Yeah. One last piece of I usually end my podcast with one practical tips. There's a lot of little trick that we accumulate using AI to have some wise use of AI. So let me share one tip, give you a little bit of time to see any tips that you are now using. So I am now using AI as what I call using different AI to cross-check the output.
Yeah.
So I'm using now a platform called ChatLM. So basically $10 per month. I have the latest model of Gemini, Claude 4.5. So what I usually do is I ask Gemini using the same prompt for the Gemini and give the result. And I have the prompt and the result of Gemini and put it into Claude and say, tell me what is the limitation and things like that, and cross-check it. That's the tip that helped me to spot some mistake from one model. Any similar tip to our audience that you use to in your daily use of AI?
I mean, we use a lot of Copilot at work, right? And I'd probably use Copilot to go ahead and bounce off ideas, use it to generate ideas, fine-tune my thinking, help rewrite certain things so that, it's much more clearer, so for clarity. So yeah, I mean, those are typically what I would generally go ahead and look at it. But outside of that, if I had to go ahead and look at it, I travel quite often, not on business, but I take a lot of vacations.
Yeah, so I read your personal blog. You were in Hong Kong 2 years ago,
many years
Macau,
back,
and then you were in diving trip or something like that, right?
So the diving is more frequent, right?
Okay.
So one interesting way I've been using Perplexity, not the Comet browser.
Yeah,
right?
I use the Perplexity.
It's pretty fascinating,
Yes.
right? I mean, it works better than a lot of other solutions that I've been using.
It's a great research tool.
Yeah. So I use that for researching holiday destinations, travel time, airport connectivities, destination.
Yes.
To that extent, it knows my travel preferences and everything.
Yeah.
So I use that quite a lot.
Your recent Europe trip was using Perplexity
to an extent, yes. To an extent, yes. At least in terms of destination management and trying to look at connections, accommodation preferences. So I mean, I've just basically fed all those particular things as
compare free hotels, which one is the best or something like that.
Not necessarily free hotels, but I mean accessibility to public transport, breakfast preferences.
Yes.
So yeah, the likes of it, right? So I basically use it extensively for my holiday planning.
That's good. That's good.
It saves a ton of time.
Yeah.
Right. A lot of time usually was being spent on that particular activity. Now I can just basically pack my bags and leave very quickly.
You can come up with itinerary that in the morning where do you go, in the afternoon that the travel time seems to make sense most of the time.
Most of the time.
Well, you just need to double check on that too, right?
Yes.
Great tip. Paddy, really appreciate your valuable time. I truly enjoyed the conversation we have.
Thank you so much.
And I think there are a lot of good insights, good tips that our audience would benefit. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me here. It was a pleasure.
Thank you for watching our podcast. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching and listening to this podcast. If you want to learn from more leaders like what we just interviewed, please stay in touch, contact us, and subscribe to our podcast. See you next time.